Welcome to episode 6 of the Nameless Podcast. What are we on for today, David?
Well, we did say in the last one that we'd do an episode about sort of nonces in the royal family or nonces linked to the royal family. So here we are. I've done a bit of research. Actually done like quite a lot of digging. Unsurprisingly, it was quite hard to find anything. But you'd expect that, wouldn't you? You wouldn't expect it to be there, like, sort of right away. All these things, if anybody's actually interested after this and wants to look any further, there's details. If you're interested, there's details of some of the abuse and that. I'm not going to fucking read that stuff. I didn't even read through the details of that myself. I sort of skimmed that because it's fucking awful, isn't it? And it just makes you feel sick when you read about it. There was lots of horrible, gory details for some of the abuse stuff. I'm not going through them now, but yeah, if you Google like the keywords, the names and that in each article, in each little bit, you'll be able to find the same articles as me. They're all out there on Google. You just got to dig a little bit deeper. But here we go. So this is probably the biggest one, really. Lord Mountbatten. He got blew up by the IRA, didn't he? He was an uncle of Prince Philip, and he was also a second cousin once removed to the Queen, who obviously husband and wife, weren't they? So they're related. But that's no surprise because Prince Philip and the Queen are also both share a great-great-grandmother in Queen Victoria, who also married a cousin, didn't she, that Prince Albert? So that's all a bit weird, isn't it? If normal people were doing that, if you're marrying your cousin and that, or your second cousin, it looks a bit dodgy, but royals do things like that, don't they? And they've done things like that forever. Anyhow, Lord Mountbatten was linked to a VIP paedophile ring at the Kincora Boys Home. It was in Belfast, and it was like just a kids' home for young lads having an awful time in the late 70s. And one of the interesting things was apparently they were taking kids from there to apartments in Westminster. Surprisingly enough, I think there was 3 places in Westminster. But apparently MI5, the special branch, the IUC, and well, I'll see if I can find it in the notes. Oh fuck no! Somebody else or some other authorities all knew about it, but rather than do stuff about it initially, they used the information they had to blackmail the VIPs, rather than just prosecuting them and that. People were prosecuted for it eventually and went to jail for it. Let's have a look notes here. There was at least 29 boys that were abused. At least one of them ended up killing himself after it. And I think at least one guy was jailed for it. There was inquiries in 1982 and 1984. And in the 90s, it came out that Lord Mountbatten and various other people were linked to it. Guess one other famous person who was linked to visit at the Kincora Boys Home?
Either Cliff Richard or Gary Glitter.
I can't believe it. Jimmy Savile.
Oh, Jimmy Savile.
Old St. James went there as well, didn't he? There was some other stuff. Again, this is just a little one. Apparently, there was a royal butler who worked there for years, and he was in on us as well. And one of the kids he was abusing, he took her to the party with the Queen Mother, a tea party.
I saw that information. Yeah, because I haven't done half as much research as you, but I've done a quick skim. Yeah, what was he called? This guy, Paul Kidd or something like that. Is that the same guy?
Right, and the thing is, they said, well, so fucking just a butler who just works there. But again, no, to get a job in Buckingham Palace, they know everything about you. They know if you wear fucking women's underwear, don't they? They know, and I know the internet probably wasn't as much of a thing back there, so it probably wasn't just Google search and things like that. But their job is to fucking know everything, innit?
Look, it's like this. At Sellafield, you've got, from what I know, you've got 2 levels of clearance to get a job on site. You've got SC, which is basic security clearance, which everybody needs to get a P4 pass to get a job on Sellafield. And then you've got something called DV. Now, I'm not entirely sure what DV stands for. I've never had to do it, but I know guys that have. And you get interrogated, you are like under the spotlight, and it's like they know what you search for on the internet without you even realizing. So if you lie, they can bring it up. And the whole purpose of it is so that you can't be blackmailed. So if you're getting access to some part of Sellafield which has, I don't know, nuclear secrets or processes or something that can't share with the outside world, you've got to be sort of bribable or unblackmailable, and that's what it's all about. So you're not telling me the Secret Intelligence Service doesn't know about these backgrounds and stuff like that.
To go to. Do you know what I mean? And if you're going to be working with the royal family, like up close and personal, butter knife by the Queen Mother, you're going to fucking know everything. So although you could think, oh yeah, he just worked there, it isn't that simple, is it? Another Prince Andrew one. This was before the Epstein stuff. He was really good friends with a priest not a priest, like Bishop. A Church of England guy, not a Catholic priest. Keith Glee, the bishop, yeah. It was found to have preyed on vulnerable young students. I think there was 19 of them all told. Prince Andrew went to school somewhere where this Glee was a chaplain. Apparently, Andrew said he had like a wonderfully memorable time there. Let's see where I'm at. Oh, and Andrew used to go with Keith Glee, the nonce bishop, and a bunch of old boys from the school. He used to go on a canoeing trip in the Northwest Territories. Honestly, the mind boggles at what went on that canoeing trip, isn't it? I've been on a couple of canoeing trips. I bet they weren't fuck all like that, young brother. Fuck me. Like, the only deliverance, I was going to say, the only canoeing trip I can think of would be deliverance. That would be like that canoe trip, wouldn't it? But Prince Andrew isn't the only royal with massive links to a nonce, because none other than the king himself, or Prince Charles as he was, had links to, where's the fella's name? Peter Ball, former Church of England bishop, and obviously convicted sex offender, convicted of sexually abusing 18 teens and young men. Charles was actually criticised by an independent inquiry of what happened. In 92, he was accused of several offences. He was given a police caution so it could be kept hush-hush. And so it would go on his record, but to be nothing public, because they were worried about the devastating effect it would have on the Church of England if a bishop came out for being a nonce. Like we don't already fucking know.
Well, what is it about the Vatican? Wasn't there a massive exposure?
Oh yeah.
Of paedophile priests, and they just shuffled them around the country, moved them from
constantly about it, doesn't it? It's come out around here about it, hasn't it? The guy that was a priest at St. Joe's or something like that came out that he was a nonce. But yeah, there was an understanding that this bald guy would resign from his post, obviously. But 4 months later, the Archbishop of Canterbury got in touch with him about his cautious return to ministry. It took less than 2 years to get him back to work in the church. He went back to work with no restrictions whatsoever and was allowed to be around kids and stuff like that. A second investigation was launched in 2012. He admitted abusing 18 teens and young men over a period of 15 years. He was sentenced to a colossal 32 months and served 18 months. 18 months for that. Think of what other people have got for much less things and tell me that it's not in the corridors of power. Judges, politicians, they're all fucking nonsense, man. They're not all, but it's riddled with them. It's fucking riddled with them.
Absolutely. It's weighted heavily, isn't it?
Sorry?
So it's weighted heavily in those disciplines.
Because honestly, well, again, priests, people like that, all these people that were once seen as the upper echelons of society, I think people are cottoning onto them now and they're not saying with the respect they once were. But all these people, there's too many of them amongst them, isn't there? Yeah, this bald guy, though, he was also friends with Margaret Thatcher and many senior judges So, a paedophile, friends with many senior judges, and gets a very light sentence for being a paedophile. Kel fucking surprise. Also, he apparently preached at Sandringham, which is obviously one of the royal palaces, isn't it? Palaces, fuck me. When it all was going on, Charles sent him a message saying, I wish I could do more. I feel so desperately strongly about the monstrous wrongs that have been done to you and the way you have been treated. It is appalling that the Archbishop has gone back on what he told me before Xmas, that he was open to restore you to some kind of ministry.
You know what it is? Half the time, it'll be to stop them singing like a canary, because this guy, I'm surprised he's still alive or he didn't get bumped.
Yeah.
Because they'll sort of die with a lot of secrets, you know, and when it happens, when someone like that gets arrested, similar to Epstein and Maxwell, people start shitting themselves, don't they?
Of course they do. I don't know whether this was before or after the thing, but apparently, and this was just something I read, this is all on the internet. Yeah, this is all out there. He bought a house using the Duchy of Cornwall's money so he could rent it to Ball and his twin brother to give them somewhere to live. The report on Charles and his staff, the report on Charles said the actions of him and his staff could have been interpreted as expressions of support for Peter Ball, and given the Prince of Wales' future role within the Church of England, had the potential to influence the Church. So that's something to think about as well. He's got a huge role in the Church of England, which is apparently important. I've got no idea how in this day and age, because no one gives a fuck. But he's obviously like openly defended a paedophile there. Well, now let's face it, he's the king of fucking England. Never mind his role in the church, he's the fucking king. People can take what they want from. That's all I could find. That's it. But like I said, if I can find that, I'm sure other people more adept at such things can find more. And if I can find that, and if that's out there, what about the stuff that isn't?
Exactly.
I did come across one article about a young lad claiming that he was sexually abused at Balmoral. But I could only find the one article, nothing about where it went or anything like that, just a one and done. Like I say, if anybody's got any info on that, like please leave a comment or something. Any info on any of this stuff, please share stuff with us that we don't know about. But like I say, you know, surely there's more that you don't know about, isn't there? And as we touched on before, the things with like the royal staff and that, MI5 and that know what's going on, man. You know, like they know when like top secret terrorists are trying to do top secret terrorist stuff that they only talk to half a dozen other people about. So, you know, they know it all, don't they?
Of course they do. It's like, look, if Jerry Sadowitz can get all this stuff taken down off YouTube so nobody can watch it, the bloody royal family and all these highfalutin elites will have a network of people just be able to bring stuff down off the internet, no problem at all. That's
I'll buy tomorrow.
There was one guy. Yeah, we'll be dead. We'll be dead by tomorrow. As long as I make it quick.
Well, you know why.
There was another one I just come across quickly scanning. There was a guy called Lord Justice Fulford. I don't know if you had a chance to see about him. No. He was an advisor to the Queen, and he was found guilty, or the investigation found he had ties to the paedophile. It was called the acronym was PIE, so it was PI, but it was like a pro-paedophile ring.
Now, I did come across some things about them, but go on.
Yeah, so he was like a highfalutin judge, a justice. You know, he's at the top of the game. He was also an advisor to the Queen, but he was found guilty of this, of being probably one of the peers of this foundation. And it kind of reflects how society is going at the moment. So these guys were doing it, 8 years ago, 10 years ago. But now if you look at this progressive movement, to turn it political for a brief second, you'll see that there's these movements that try and get the word paedophile struck off, and they want to be called what is it?
Is it MAPS?
MAPS, minor attracted person. and they're trying to get it into like vernacular, so that everybody just gets used to it with no sort of what's the word? No stigma attached to it. Yeah, and it's like, are you for fucking real? And it's the same type. It's typical type of person you'd see. You know, it's like the people that have gone through maybe a sex change, or you know, they're not quite sure who they are from an identity perspective, but yet they're trying to put onto these kids. Oh, but children, if they consent to it, you know, it should be allowed to happen.
Honestly,
kids don't know whether they're going to be fucking Superman or B.A. Baracus from one day to the other, do they? You know what I mean? Never mind if fuck yeah, but as long as there's stuff like this going on, Dave, us plebs will, you know, we'll never be able to do anything about it.
That's the thing, isn't it? They try and make it so it's like, so they're not going to be despised, and you know, they want people to not hate nonsense. Surely that's never going to fucking happen, because any fucking parent is going to hate nonsense. Anybody fucking normal is going to hate nonsense, aren't they? They shouldn't be worrying about what they're calling them. They should be worrying that they don't get stoned to death in the fucking streets, shouldn't they? Because that's what should be happening to them.
No, that's right. Yeah, it's
I wound up there.
well, we were talking about the interbreeding of the royal families. Obviously, that's been going on for thousands of years, hasn't it? I mean, there was a famous one, wasn't there? The Habsburgs.
Oh yeah, the big chins and the big nose.
Yeah, big chin, big nose.
Habsburg.
They were all of German, Austrian blood, weren't they? Holy shit.
We'll have to post that picture.
Yeah, you cut it in if you can cut it in.
I will.
Yeah, Charles II, it was the Habsburg Empire. He was like the king of the Holy Roman Empire, wasn't he, when it was in full swing?
Yeah.
And obviously there was that much interbreeding going on in his family that he was just fucked up. He could barely speak. His face was all you only see paintings from them days, but his face was all fucked up. He couldn't speak properly.
Yeah, that was a rule. They had to flatter them, don't they?
Yeah, as well. Yeah. Imagine how bad he must have been.
Make his nose and his chin look big.
Ridiculous, isn't it? So the fact that, I mean,
that's what I said to Scala.
Don't make it as big as it is in real life. No, fuck you now.
Eat down. So cheap.
You'll upset him, yeah. But the point of the interbreeding was obviously it was all power accumulation, wasn't it?
Yeah, to keep it else.
So even like 100 and so years ago, we had Britain, which obviously I don't think it was as quite as powerful it was as in its heyday. Then Germany, Russia, all related. The royal families were all related. And I think Denmark as well. I think it wasn't the king of Denmark; it was the queen. It was a cousin of Queen Victoria's, or a niece of Queen Victoria's. She absolutely despised Kaiser Bill, Wilhelm II.
Yeah.
So obviously she was she was quite a proponent of Germany's hegemony. But yeah, it's really interesting stuff, isn't it? I mean, you could go on for hours. I
skimmed the very surface, haven't I?
Yeah.
I would say though, it's took us a fair few hours even to just dig up that little bit of stuff with a little bit of detail and that. You would have to dig much deeper, wouldn't you? Because people do try and bury these things, don't they? Again, there's probably people whose job is to try and bury these things 24/7.
Absolutely.
So you're up against them, aren't you? If you want to find anything out. But the truth is out there, guys.
The truth will set you free. And David Icke wrote about this like over 25, 30 years ago, and he was just obviously espoused as an idiot and a spastic.
Yeah.
And he's still alive, to be fair. I mean, I don't know how he's managed not to get bumped off, but
I would say because no one's ever took him seriously. Because I think his views have always been seen as outrageous. They've all just thought no one's ever going to fucking believe that.
The reptilian agenda thing, I think that kind of put people into orbit a bit too soon, didn't it? You what?
It's a hard sell.
Yeah.
To convince the entire British and world public that the royal family are actually lizard people. That's a tough sell.
Mm. To be fair, I think that he's maybe right on some level. The fact that the part of your brain which is obviously no empathy
Aye.
he's called your reptilian brain, isn't it? And obviously these guys, this royal family,
using it like that, talking about it in that sense, then yeah, he's definitely got a fucking point, hasn't he?
It's like a metaphorical description, isn't it? And it's like because these in the royal family, these won't be nurtured by loving hands. They'll be dragged up by nannies and butlers and whatever else. It'll be military style reared. There won't be any love and affection, or very little. And you can see the difference between the two princes. How they were brought up by the mother, who was obviously a very loving woman, in comparison to what she was married into, and the other idiots on the other side. But like I say, all this stuff. This is what we were saying last week.
He has that thing where he's like, yeah, fuck me, like my dad's side of the family, like they're all weird as fuck. Like, don't really bother with them that much. Do you know what I mean? Like, the all has his side of sound, like decent parties and all that side. Get up there.
I know, yeah. Well, all that came from whether we should have a royal family or a monarchy, didn't it? We were discussion last week.
I sort of go and tell us now that we should.
Yeah, well, that's right. I said last week, I think if we keep it, and it needs to be sort of regarded in its full regalia, we need to know exactly what they're doing, because we don't. And will it ever happen? No, because we don't even find out what our politicians are up to. Never mind the royal family, we're on another level.
So that could come at another point, finding out what politicians are up to. Because while I was researching this, I did come up with a lot of politician sex scandals. Well, no, not politician sex scandals, actually. Politician, sexual abuse scandals, of children being abused and things like that. So not just like shagging your secretary and that. So again, if you want to know about nonsense in Parliament or Westminster or generally just politics in this country, comment on the video and I'll do that at some point as well.
Yeah, big ones. And not to put too many spoilers out there, but big one was Edward Heath, wasn't it?
Was it Cyril Smith as well, I think?
Cyril Smith, yeah, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we can dig into that if people want us to, and that'll probably be a bit easier. Not quite as protected, are they?
Mm. Cool. We'll do that for next time then.
Right.
Like, share, subscribe.